Start the streaming service. For those of you joining us, the Danville Town Council meeting will begin shortly.
All right, it is 5 o'clock. I'd like to go ahead and call to order the Town Council regular meeting for this Tuesday, May 18th, 2021. I do hear an echo. I'm not sure what that is, but I hear an echo. And I'd like to go ahead and start off with our roll call. Marie.
Councilmember Fong.
Here.
Councilmember Stepper.
Here.
Councilmember Storer.
Here.
Vice Mayor Arnerich.
Here.
And Mayor Morgan.
Here.
I've confirmed that all council members are present.
Great, thank you. Item 1.2 are announcements. Marie.
This meeting is being held by teleconference only on Zoom, and a recording of this meeting, as well as any written public comments, which we have not received, will be made available on the town website. To provide live comments during the meeting, use the raise hand feature in Zoom. And when the mayor opens up the item to public comment, raise your hand at that time. Your name will be announced and only your audio will be enabled. You're asked to state your name for the record and limit your comment to 3 minutes. Again, wait until the mayor has opened the item to public comment before raising your hand for that item. Thank you.
Thank you for that. This evening, I'd like to go ahead and ask one of our staff, who is our maintenance service director for the town of Danville, Dave Castile, to join us with his video and come on screen with us and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
Well, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. It's an honor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Thank you for doing that for us. And we'll be seeing you in a little bit later on in our agenda. All right, let's go to item number 3, which is changes to the order of the agenda. Are there any changes to the order of the agenda tonight?
No changes.
All right, thank you, Mr. Calabrigo. Item number 4 is for the good of the town. The good of the town is an opportunity for members of the public to address the town council on items that are not on the agenda this evening. You have an opportunity to write in your comments and have them submitted by 11 o'clock the day of the meeting, and or you can speak this evening to us. But know that items on the good of the town are for 3-minute comments only, and the town council cannot take any action or discuss the items that are on the good of the town since they are not listed on the agenda. Marie, do we have anybody that would like to address the town council for the good of the town?
Yes, there are at this time 3 individuals with their hands raised.
Okay.
I will share my screen and start the timer. The first, let me get the individuals back on here so I can see them. The first individual will be Patty Hoyt.
Okay, wonderful. Patty, welcome.
Oh. Where is Patty? 1 second.
She lowered her hand.
You can hear me. I did not
Yes,
get.
I can hear you.
Thank you very much. Hi, Council. I am here tonight. I'm Patty Hoyt. I'm with Discovery Counseling Center, and I coordinate ADAPT San Ramon Valley. And I'm here tonight to thank you all for all of the support you've provided ADAPT San Ramon Valley for the 8 years I've been here. And all in our efforts to reduce underage drinking, marijuana use, and prescription drug abuse. From giving me proclamations every year for Red Ribbon Week, Alcohol Awareness Month, and Prescription Drug Abuse Awareness Month, to most recently working on adding marijuana to the social host ordinance and implementing a vaping ban. As you may know, my program is funded by Contra Costa County's alcohol and other drug services. And we provide services that meet the prevention objectives set forth in the county's strategic plan for alcohol and other drug services. And the county's been really pleased that many of the objectives that I've worked on with you and others in the San Ramon Valley have been met, and have indicated that other parts of the county have the need for prevention services. Their funding comes from the state, and the state is requiring that services be provided in areas with high Medi-Cal recipients. And the San Ramon Valley is not one of those. So they are no longer going to fund the contract for Adapt San Ramon Valley as of June 30th of this year. So I'm still working hard on projects right up until that point. But I just wanted to formally announce to you all that ADAPT won't be here anymore, but I really have faith in all of you to carry forth the prevention efforts that we've worked on. And I know you have the health and safety of our youth in your hearts as well as ours. And just so you know, I'm retiring as well. So, so yeah, my husband and I are both going to retire June 30th as well. So it was kind of good timing for the contract to run out. It was a good time to pick a date to retire. So I just wanted to formally thank you all for all your support over the 8 years that I've been doing this. Really appreciate it.
Patty, thank you so much. Your service to the community and to our youth has just been just invaluable. I mean, we've all benefited from it, and working with April Rivero and all of that, it's just been a pleasure. And I'm jealous that you're retiring, but I want to congratulate you on that as well. So thank you so much for your kind words this evening.
Thanks.
And Newell, did you want to say something?
Patty, I've been with Discovery for 21 years. It's hard to remember when you weren't there. Your advocacy, your passion, absolutely dedicated passion to make a difference in this community. You've saved lives, help people that you've never met, and just know that your legacy is really the summation of making a difference in this greater community. And God bless you, and I wish you all the best in retirement. And we are all jealous. We all think we're retired, but we're not.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Patty, for being here. Marie.
Yes, the next speaker is Katie Mahan.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Hi, Katie. Yes, welcome.
Thank you. My name is Katie Mann. I live in Danville with my husband and 2 young kids. Thank you for your time this evening. I would like to use some of my time tonight to ask the council to support and fund permanent memorials for Tyrell Wilson and Latimer Abuelita. As you may know, I and others in the community have placed temporary memorials for Tyrell and Latimer in the places where they died. These memorials last anywhere from a few minutes to a couple of days before someone tears them down. Regardless of the outcome of these cases, 2 men died in our community. These men were not criminals. They were not dangerous. One was a visitor, and one had found refuge in our town. They deserve recognition. I hope the town will move swiftly in creating a permanent memorial where we can place flowers and spend time remembering these men. Additionally, I would like to address the town's plans to increase the police budget for the coming year. The police do not need a bigger budget. A bigger budget will not make us safer. It will not make us more welcoming. Instead, we as a town need to think more creatively about how to spend these funds to make our town safer, a safer, more welcoming place for everyone. I believe, and I hope that others on this call tonight will speak more about the police budget, and they'll speak more eloquently and with more information than I can. But I wanted to support what they have to say. I ask the council to listen carefully and think creatively before approving the increased police budget. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your comments. Marie?
Yes. The next speaker is Veronica Benjamin.
Good evening, Veronica.
Oh, good evening, Madam Mayor and honorable council members. I'd just like to echo Katie's sentiments and say that I attended at least one budget meeting, and I do understand that the increase in the police budget is for 2 officers in the schools. But I really question how much that's absolutely necessary, and whether that whether that additional, I know that's maybe not all of the 600,000 budget increase, but I would just, urge the council to reflect on whether we really want police in our schools, or whether this could be covered by having social workers, just by maintaining the peace. So anyway, I don't think that should be a budget priority. Secondly, I would also like to echo her comments regarding the memorials. Since Tyrell has been shot, I've on and off maintained a memorial, either at the bus stop at the Park and Ride or at Sycamore Valley Road, and it's been repeatedly defaced. People have written horrible things that I will not repeat here on those signs. And so I do think it would be appropriate if the town council could support, or I know there's probably a subcommittee we should address, but I'd just like to put it out there that we really, really sincerely would like a permanent memorial for both Tyrell Wilson and Latimer Arboleda, because something horrific happened to them in our town. And I think the very least we could do is honor their memories, honor their families, and have it be a space for public education and awareness that police violence is everywhere. Even in our beautiful, wonderful town, we have police violence, and we should all be acting to make sure that it's curbed, that reconciliation happens. And as well, this was police violence against 2 men of color and 2 people who had mental health struggles. So that would lead to my third point, being that I really wish the town of Danville would make a more public condemnation of racism in all of its forms. I know there was some discussion about maybe adding this to the town mission statement, but that would really mean a lot to me, because I do know that you're all people of service and that you've been on this council for decades in some cases. But when I search my heart and I think what's really missing and what I would like to see in the town council's response would definitely be a frank discussion of race and space for that to happen. I would also like to urge the town council, to whatever capacity, I know that you're in contact with the chief of police as well as the sheriff, maybe on occasion, as well as the DA. I was reviewing the county's use of force policy, and it was last updated in 2017. So I just asked the town council to support any effort to revise the Contra Costa County Sheriff's use of force policy manual, taking into account certain legislation, specifically AB 392 that was passed in 2019. I know there's very specific language and some updates. There's probably other relevant legislation I'm not aware of, but it's been 4 years, so I think it's time to update it with more contemporary legislation. So thank you.
Thank you, Veronica. Marie?
Yes. The next speaker is Sarah S.
Sarah S. Sarah, can you state your last name and welcome?
Sorry, yes, my name is Sarah Stroin. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I didn't know how to change change my name. So
no worries.
So anyways, that's who I am. Good evening. Thank you for having me. I'm a lifelong Danville resident, and again, just thank you for hearing me today and for your support thus far. I want to thank the community who continues to show up to demand justice for Latimer Arboleda and Tyrell Wilson, and the 2 people who've already spoken up today about these issues. I will try not to repeat exactly what they said, but I do have similar desires. And anyways, so I really, really want our town to fund permanent memorials to Latimer and Tyrell. And I know you have been made aware of the continued desecration and vandalization that's happening at these temporary memorial sites that our community continues to put up. And I really want our council to, so all of you here today, to publicly condemn these acts of destruction, and also the really explicit racism that's fueling the vandalism, and to fund permanent memorials at the sites where Latimer and Tyrell were killed by Officer Hall of the Danville Police. Additionally, I really would like our town council to do everything in its power to support sheriff's oversight body to be formed at the county level, and to continue to press for a transparent investigation into Tyrell's shooting. And I understand, as was mentioned recently, that the budget for fiscal year 2021, 2022 is maybe not finalized yet. And I really want to just voice my desire for you to reconsider increasing police spending. I and my family do not have confidence in Danville Police to ensure the safety of our community members of color, especially. And, you know, the funds allocated for 2 returning police officers to our school should really go to other safety and public health priorities, not the police force. I think Veronica mentioned social workers, and I would really like to see a social worker presence in schools rather than police presence. And lastly, I'm really trying to educate myself on the racist history of policing in America, and I really expect my town leaders to do the same. So yeah, it's really necessary work, and I invite you to join me. Please stand with us. Please publicly condemn the racist vandalism at Tyrell and Latimer's memorial sites. And yeah, please, let us know who we need to be reaching out to permit the funding of permanent memorials to Latimer and Tyrell.
We appreciate your comments. Thank you.
The next speaker is Nikenya A.
Nikenya, welcome.
Hi, thank you. I am Nikenya A. I am a supportive neighbor from the city of Martinez. Again, I want to applaud the residents for continuing to show up during such a difficult time. And I also wanted to speak out about the defacing of the memorials and basically what we all know that's saying, right? And the bringing up the budget for the police, which I think is a little bit tone deaf during this time. But I think that it's really important that you guys make a statement about where you stand when it comes to inequalities. I feel like my neighbors in Danville who are trying to appeal to you guys are definitely making it clear that you guys are not doing enough to stand for social justice, or just showing support to your community of color. And as one person said before, like, this all prompted her to get more educated about policing in America. And I agree, I think increasing the budget right now after 2 murders of people of color by the Danville police is just, it's a statement that says, oh, well, we have nothing to worry about, so let's just keep going. And it's disrespectful to your citizens of color and those who are trying to be supportive of their neighbors and do the right thing. So thank you for listening to me. I really hope that you guys do more to help your citizens feel more supported by you. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Marie?
Yes, the next speaker is Joan Kazaronian.
Joan, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Joan. Welcome.
Hey there. Thank you so much for having me. I said it last time, but I really appreciate this forum. I think it is an opportunity for us to all hear each other and listen and learn. I think I can be pretty quick. I support everything that was said with the last 4 speakers, every word of it. I said last time I called that I do not want to live in a racist community. And I know for myself, with the work I'm doing in the organization that I belong into, like, everybody's working really hard to learn and to unlearn old ways. And I think we all need to be committed to that. And I think as a great city that or town that Danville is, we need to hear statements of just how we're going to work on that, how we're going to work on DEI, how we're going to work on racial justice, really looking hard at, like everybody else has said, policing. I'm a lead for Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. I'm a lead here in California. I'm have been doing it ever since the Isla Vista shootings. We certainly are not anti-gun in any way. We just believe that we believe in gun violence prevention and gun violence safety, and we're horrified with the numbers of gun deaths we have in this country. We're the only country that lives like this, like you all know. Gun violence includes police shootings, and we look at that really hard and carefully. And we say that we say that police violence is gun violence. And the reason why is because a police violence is often used, well, we know, disproportionately on people of color, and certainly shootings that we have seen. So anyway, I just want to reinforce everything that's been said. I want us to hear as a community just how we're going to work towards change also, because we do not want to be seen as a racist community, and we do not want to see officers killing citizens. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Joan. Thank you for your comments. Marie?
The next speaker is Stephanie Tadeo.
Stephanie, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, Stephanie, we can. Welcome.
Thank you. First of all, I do want to take this opportunity to thank all of you, everyone on the town council, for the work that you do, the service for the town of Danville. I believe all of you are serving in order to make our community all it can be for all people living in Danville. Therefore, I would like to take this opportunity to ask the town council to support Assembly Bill number 1185, which would establish a sheriff oversight board to assist the Board of Supervisors with duties as they relate to the sheriff. The second thing I'd like to bring up is that many residents of Danville want to create a memorial to remember the two men, Tyrell Wilson and Latimer Arboleda, who lost their lives here in Danville due to a police officer who was too quick to pull the trigger. Many ideas are being explored, and there is an emphasis on location that would minimize or ideally prevent any vandalism. So I'm asking the town council to think about how you can help support the creation and implementation of a memorial, and to also take a hard line against vandalism. Additionally, I'm asking the town council to seriously consider budgeting funds to help create a memorial. Lastly, I would like to recommend a book to everyone, and it's called How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram Kendi. It's a powerful read that explains racism and inequality in our society and in ourselves. And he does an excellent job of explaining what it means to be anti-racist as an individual and what it would mean to have an anti-racist society. So thank you for the time to be able to speak. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you for the book recommendation. Marie?
I don't see any other hands raised, so last call for public comment for the good of the town. Doesn't look like we have any. Oh, there's one.
Oh, okay.
Human Hodgett.
Okay, Human, welcome back.
Good afternoon. I apologize, I'm a little bit late today, so I may be echoing something that has already been said, but I thought that it was important to come back to this regular meetings and kind of check in on how, as a town, we're trying to move things forward. And I know that with the litigations that are pending, et cetera, and certainly became evidence from the last conversation or last call that we had. There are certain things that are not going to be possible in terms of, what I was hoping to be some initiatives to move us forward in a productive and positive way to eliminate or at least minimize these kinds of things from happening again. So I thought, the only thing that I can ask today is, so it's been almost 4 weeks since the last update and around the investigation. I know that a lot of the members of the town have requested for a transparency in the proceedings regarding Officer Hall. And this time I want to just ask, and I think Mayor Morgan, you previously brought up the fact that you had to follow up with the DA and kind of push for some progress, which seemed to have come about for the previous case. So I'm asking if you could, make the similar initiative regarding the more recent case, and perhaps by the following meetings, give the town some updates as to how we are, moving the investigation forward in a transparent way, so that we don't wait 2.5 years, whatever it might be, so that the town sees that this continued progress towards justice as well. So I just wanted to make that call as a positive effort to continue us on the right path. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Marie?
I don't see any other hands raised, so that would conclude the speakers for the good of the town.
And I'd like to also mention to all the speakers that upon, as I've mentioned to you before, upon information that we receive, we will be releasing that information as well. We believe in a transparent investigation. Therefore, any information that we receive, we will be letting the public know. And to your comment, Human, that's definitely something that we have been continuing to do. So as soon as we have it, we'll let you know as well. All right, let's go ahead and move on then to item number 5. Item number 5 is our consent calendar. The consent calendar are items that are considered routine in nature and are usually acted upon by one motion by the town council with a single action as well. So therefore, we would like to go ahead and see if there's anybody from the town council that would like to pull an item off of the consent calendar this evening. Okay, all right, seeing none, I'll go ahead and bring it to the public. Is there anybody, Marie, in the public that has their hand raised to remove any item from 5.1 through 5.6 off the consent calendar?
No requests.
Mayor
Okay.
Morgan, I'd be delighted to move tonight's consent calendar as presented.
Okay, so I have a motion and I have a
Happy
second.
to second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Can we do a roll call, please?
Yes, Councilmember Fong,
Absolutely, aye.
Councilmember Stepper,
Yes.
Councilmember Storer,
100% yes.
Vice Mayor Arnerich,
Yes.
and Mayor Morgan.
Yes.
And the consent calendar was approved unanimously.
And we're going to go ahead and move on to item number 6, which is communications. We had to miss this last time, and we were so looking forward to it. And so this time we're definitely looking forward to it, that much more anticipating the report from Dave Castile. And once again, he also was our person that did our Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. So if that's any indication, we're looking forward to your report right now as well.
Well, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. It's a pleasure to be before you all, as always. Let's see, since 6 months ago from my last presentation, it's been a very busy and productive 6 months, as I think you guys are all probably aware. And while we have continued to face some operational challenges, sorry, real quick, are you all hearing the echo on your end too? Getting a pretty good echo. I don't know if everybody's muted. So anyway, sorry. We continue to deal with the operational challenges associated with the pandemic, such as a decentralized workforce, and continuing to adapt to updated guidance. But that being said, I think that the crew has been as productive as ever during this time, and I really think that that is a testament to the great staff that we've been able to recruit and train and develop. And I think if you saw that, I think Councilmember Stepper saw some of our members out in the field the other day, and they were upbeat and they were positive, and I think that is symbolic of the whole crew. Despite the challenging times, I think they've really continue to give their best to our residents every single day, and I couldn't be prouder of them for that. So with that said, I'll just kind of touch on a few highlights from the different program areas we have, and I think for the purposes of tonight, I will probably go ahead and group together the parks and roadsides program areas, because there's been quite a bit of overlap in those two over the last several months. And that's primarily because one of our main focuses right now, well, I guess twofold focus, is landscape renovation, as well as eliminating turf where it's maybe not the most appropriate use for the location. So grass, as you all know, is pretty water intensive. So we've been taking a systematic look at where we have grass that, maybe on roadsides it's kind of tucked away, not really a recreational area, doesn't get a whole lot of use, just takes the water. So we've been identifying some of those sites and have moved forward on eliminating turf, and in some cases replacing it with plant material, and in other cases maybe bark mulching it and saving all the water altogether. And so far we've completed about 6 locations where we've eliminated turf. All said and done, roughly an acre of grass has been eliminated as part of these projects. So as water rates continue to increase and droughts come and go, I think we continue to put ourselves in a better position moving forward in that regard. On the flip side, before it was looking as though we were headed straight into a drought, we did complete several landscape renovation projects throughout town, and a combination of things. Some were where we replaced grass. Others were areas where maybe the landscaping had reached the end of its useful life and needed to be refreshed a bit. So really proud of the progress that we've made on this for both our parks and roadsides, and all the sites that they've been able to do. We've completed over 20 projects over the last year, which all said and done is about 750 plants and trees that have been put in as part of these projects to really beautify the town. And if you'll bear with me, I'm going to attempt the dangerous and try to share my screen here and not mess up technology. And just I figure what do they say? A picture is 1,000 words, right? So can you all see that? So this is along Crow Canyon. I won't give narrative to all of these, but this is along Crow Canyon, which used to be grass, a long stretch of grass that, as you can see, really wasn't serving much of a purpose. And so John Teixeira, our superintendent, ran a project where they replaced the grass with plant material and some trees, and I think it looks better, and ultimately it's going to save us quite a bit of water. So that is one of the recurring themes that you'll see throughout. But some of the other landscape projects, and forgive me, some of these pictures might be a little small, but let's see, is this going to work for me? Here we go. This is at Danville South around the tennis court. Again, an area where there was grass that really just didn't need to be grass and didn't need to use the water. So we've did a planting project there that the crew took on themselves, and I think did a great job. It's along Camino Tasajera. We've kind of been trying to focus on some of the highlight areas that are a little bit more visible. So this is generally across the street from Sycamore Valley Park, where the landscaping, the plant material had died off due to some irrigation breaks from some of the utility projects that had gone on. And so now that those were completed, we were able to go back and kind of rejuvenate the area a bit. The Front Street parking lot, a small little project, but a little refresher nonetheless. This one, we just recently wrapped up the Greenbrook medians near Camino Ramon. So this is one section of it. I think you can see there's some good color there and some trees that really beautify the area. And this is another section of the median there that real happy with how that project turned out. If you haven't had a chance to get by there yet, I encourage you to do so. I'm sure you all recognize this as our lovely labyrinth at Pat McGee Ranch Park, where we needed to kind of rejuvenate some of the plant material after some of our friendly neighboring deer made their way over to it. So we kind of freshened that back up and have it looking pretty much brand new again there. This is along what we refer to as Old Camino Tasajera near Molitas. Our very own town service center. If you've been by there over the years, it's been a while since it's been updated, to put it mildly. So our roadside supervisor, Adam Rodriguez, and his crew ran a project to completely replace all of the plant material. And I don't know if you remember the cacti that were prominent along the frontage before, but it's all been replaced with fresh plant material. It looks really, really nice, I think. Across the street from the service center at the Lasada corner. And that's at Sycamore and Camino Tasajera at that intersection there where they kind of freshened everything up a little bit. And again, you can see added a little bit more color, which has kind of been a focus for some of these entry statements. One of our very own, proud of a job well done after, I believe that was the corner of Morning Home and Sycamore. So you can see, you know, I think I put this in somewhat to be funny, but also because I think it shows, you know, the pride that our guys take in their work and seeing the job well done. So we continue on, you know, we're kind of hitting pause on the landscape projects for right now, given the uncertainty over the drought. But we are continuing to move forward with grass removal projects and keeping an eye out for where it might make sense to do more of those. And just real quick before I stop sharing my screen, the next item I was going to mention was our parks crew was able to complete the conversion of the tennis court to 2 pickleball courts at Osage Station Park, following a lot of interest from members of the public and coming to the Parks Commission with their request. So we were able to complete that project. Again, John Teixeira ran that one, and I think they turned out great. I think you all have been by there already to see them. But if not, real pleased with how they turned out. The community seems to be very pleased about it, and I think those will be very heavily utilized in the days to come here. So let me see if I can figure out how to stop sharing. There we go, the big red button. That'll do it. All right, am I back? Very good. So in addition to some of those projects, the Parks and Roadsides crews, I'll also just highlight, as you all know, each year they go through and prune all the rose bushes at Osage Station Park. They did complete that a few months ago, pruning over 1,800 rose bushes as part of that project, if you can believe it. So it's quite the undertaking. But as you all know, it's, I think, one of the highlights of our town, how beautiful that rose garden is. And then along the roadsides, another 200 crepe myrtles trees were pruned, where we kind of selectively pick and choose which ones on an annual basis could use some pruning. So suffice to say, the Parks and Roadsides crews have been quite busy over the last several months here. Over in the buildings division, and I'd point out here, these are kind of the unsung heroes of the group, I think, you know, with all the changing health guidance, buildings closing, reopening, standards changing, the way that they've just adapted on the fly over and over, and quickly and efficiently with how they've been able to do it, I think has been great. So, you know, one of the main focuses for them over these last several months, over the last year plus, I should say, is just continuing to adjust as the guidance changes, continuing to accommodate custodial and sanitization needs as buildings do reopen. And we've been moving along real nicely in that regard. So we'll continue on with that. But it turns out they also have their normal day-to-day routine to deal with. So some of the other notable projects that they've completed, they replaced a sewage pump at the Diablo Vista Park restroom building to continue to keep that running properly, which I think you can all understand the importance of that. And then also replaced the compressor in one of the AC units at the Veterans Hall, which I was very pleased with because they did it so quickly that they got it done right before that mid 90-degree heat spell we got over the last couple of weeks. So that was a big help there too. The streets crew may be a crew that needs no introduction because I think you all have seen the fresh red paint anywhere and everywhere throughout the town at this point. So they're wrapping up their once every roughly 3-year project to repaint red curb throughout town. Quite the undertaking. All said and done, it's about 75,000 linear feet of curb that they're repainting, which I did the math. I don't have it in front of me, so I might be wrong, but I think it was a little over 14 miles of curb that they're repainting as part of this process. You know, keeping our residents safe out there and everything looking good. They also completed a pretty nice sidewalk repair project along Camino Tasajera. We have more and more people out and about walking still along our roadsides and trails. So we've kind of focused on these areas and making sure that they're as safe as possible. So they replaced about 200 linear feet of sidewalk in different sections along Camino Tasajera, primarily around the Hill Meadow area. In addition to that, they also, if we do get rain again, we will be in good shape at Del Amigo, where we've got some pretty big storm drain pipes running under the street there that were built up with quite a bit of sediment that we were able to get all cleared out as part of a pretty big project with a contractor that we oversaw. So those are in good shape. So bring on the rain come wintertime, hopefully. Outside of that, some of the current projects we're working, as I mentioned earlier, continuing to look at where it might make sense to eliminate grass for more efficient uses or better uses of those spaces. We're also just wrapping up another round of tree work at Osage Station Park in the playground and picnic area where we have some of those larger silver maple trees. We've been doing some safety pruning, kind of thinning out some of the limbs, lightening the load to minimize the risk of limb or tree failure there and keep the area as safe as possible. And that's just getting wrapped up here. And I think the one I'm most excited about, we've signed a contract in the coming weeks. My home, the Town Service Center, will be getting a fresh coat of paint on the exterior, which has been long overdue, but the pandemic kind of slowed things down, but we're back on schedule to get it done. So between the fresh landscaping and the new paint, I think it's going to look like a whole new building. So we're all looking forward to that over at 1000 Sherburne Hills. And then looking ahead, I'll just conclude with, obviously we continue to evolve and adapt to the pandemic and the requirements and needs that come along with that. That's the #1 priority right now. But beyond that, we do continue on with our other projects. We're about to move on to the next phase of our organic fertilizer program at our town sports fields. After we had some soil sampling done, the fields are in great shape, really performing very well. The soil samples came back great. Very minimal material that we need to use, but again, we've been doing that organic fertilizer program for several years now, and we're seeing some great results. And then last but not least, it's irrigation season. So the Parks and Roadsides crews, if we have a day that goes by where we don't find a mainline break, that's a pretty big win for us right now. So they've had their hands full, but they're doing a great job keeping up, making sure that we don't waste water and that we also keep plant material alive. So over the next several months, that will definitely be a focus for those groups. So with that, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, though I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
Thank you so much, Dave. Karen? We got you on mute.
There we go.
There you go.
2 quick questions. The first one had to do with the amount you're doing. This came up this morning, how much cleaning and maintenance you're doing in the morning, so that when people come to our parks, they're just so impressed. I was going up the Sycamore Trail behind the park, and there they were all getting everything. I couldn't believe what they had done. They had went through the gate before I did to keep everything pristine. And that's what keeps people wanting to keep it pristine. It becomes a wonderful cycle that you start every morning. So thank you for that. I want to ask about the roses, because the 800 roses, I have friends from out of town are coming to visit that park because of the roses, because that's the normal place I meet people now, because it's so gorgeous. But I thought that the horticulture club, at Diablo, etc., were doing the trimming, and you said we trimmed, or your maintenance crew trimmed 800 roses. So which is it?
Both 1,800 roses that we pruned, but it is a combination. So each year around January, our crew goes in and does kind of a hard prune of all the roses and call it a bit of a reset, if you will. Throughout the year, we do work with, I believe it's 3 separate gardening clubs that volunteer their services to provide ongoing pruning of the roses and, to help promote the growth and keep them looking as good as they do. So couldn't do it without those groups. They're a huge, huge help to us, but it is a combination both of those groups as well as our staff.
No, it was massive, the cutback that you did in January. It's what roses need. So thank you for doing, keeping the town beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Newell?
I would just add my 2 cents. Really, no questions, Dave. You're the rock star in the maintenance. You helped develop one of the best devices we have to connect our citizens and maintenance and all of us, actually even the council, through the Danville app, Danville Connect. And it's every day you see something in town, our citizens are so connected, and really because of what you did personally. You were in a different department when you started to develop all that. And we were all concerned about the capacity. Could we actually answer and address all of those queries? And you have stepped up to really do that. And as Karen said, let's name the 2 individuals, both Richard and Andy, who are normally facilities attendants, particularly to see Richard in the downtown area sanitizing every day, sanitizing every day, every push button for the pedestrian crosswalks on all of our signals there. I tell you what, it just kind of goes, wow. That's a wow factor in terms of the care and the level of detail to make our community safe, as Karen said. In addition, for 15 months that you took your department and to our public, you pivoted, you created a way, you made the staff safe by the way you broke them up in groups, making sure they didn't meet with each other. To all of your staff, I hope you know from all of us on the council and all of us fellow residents, really, really appreciate what you've done. That you don't see COVID in the physical part of Danville, you see Danville in its beauty and its splendor of trying to carry on. So really well done, A+. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you. I'll be sure to pass that on to the crew.
Robert?
Great. I'm sure Dave is probably getting tired of all these compliments, but we'll just continue for a moment or two. First of all, excellent job. Really nicely done. Every time we go drive through town, I'm so excited. I see the crepe myrtles being trimmed. I mean, honestly, I say this every year, but God, it looks like someone takes out a tape measure and cuts them exactly at the same height all the way across town. It's amazing. The Danville Connect app, are we still getting a lot of hits on maintenance on that? Or is there consistent numbers, or did it go up or down during COVID?
It did a little bit of up and down, but overall ended up being pretty consistent. Especially, I think early on, things really slowed down in the early months of the pandemic. But then with more people out and about, more people home, working from home, I think we saw an uptick because of that. There was just more eyes and ears out and about. So I think it's still going strong.
Yeah, and on your report under looking ahead, I noticed the last line item was 125 lineal feet of asphalt pathway at Oak Hill Park. Is that at the community center side, or is that the All Wars Memorial side?
So as you know, we've kind of chipped away at that pathway, and each year do about this stretch of it. So I think we have one or two segments left, and I don't want to misspeak. I believe it's on the more on the meadow side will be the next phase that we're doing as we continue along on that path.
Once again, Dave, excellent job, and thank you for all the good work, and pass on to all the guys that how happy we are with the town of Danville and the way it looks. Appreciate it.
Absolutely will do. They're the ones that deserve it, so I certainly will. Thank you.
Dave?
Yeah. Hey, big thanks to you and your team. It's amazing what you've been able to accomplish. I echo what everyone has already said, and just want to make a couple of comments. First, your guys are heads down, but it's amazing that there's always a smile on their face. And when the community's walking by, they're working hard, but they've got a smile on their face. And they're also our wayfinders, because it's amazing how many people don't seem to know how to get around town. And guess who they ask? They ask your guys, and they got a smile on their face, and they're more than helpful in directing traffic and where people need to get to. The other comment I want to make is that I know you and the team are heads down, getting it done. That's what makes the big difference in this town and why we differentiate compared to a lot of other communities. But you're also very strategic. And I know I commented at our budget session that you're also thinking out of the box. You're looking at enabling technology and other innovations that might help address the growing use of water and how best we can manage irrigation and the beauty of our town. And I really appreciate that heads up and your strategic view as to how we can be even better than where we are today. So thank you very much to you and your team.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
So I have one additional question I wanted to ask you. The type of bark that you use, it's the wood chip. The reason you use that, can you explain why you use that and not, say, for instance, a dark bark or a different type of bark? What's the purpose behind that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we generally use what is called golden nuggets. And we use those for a few reasons. One, the lighter color usually makes the plant material pop a little bit more from an aesthetic standpoint. But we also find greater success with that to some alternatives, like just wood chips, directly from the tree, or say like gorilla hair, for instance. Because we've had instances along the roadsides and in the medians where fires have started because the other mulch material can be a little bit more problematic in that regard. So We've kind of honed in on the golden nuggets that we use because they are more resistant in that regard. We haven't had that problem with those, and just to kind of keep a somewhat consistent look throughout the town. In certain areas that are maybe a little bit more off the beaten path and or aren't really considered a concern from a fire standpoint, we will save money because we will work with some of the tree contractors that we work with, and they'll provide us with free wood chips. So in certain circumstances, those are appropriate to use. But in some of our more high profile areas, we've typically stuck with the golden nuggets.
That's good to know. And then the other question I had for you is, you know, with all the grass replacement, I noticed that some areas you put stones and some areas you're putting the mulch or the wood chips and the, you know, vegetation and all that. How is that when we're out there watering the grass? It's a lot longer of a timer to water the grass than it is to water the smaller plants like that. And thank you for being so drought conscious even before we had the drought again. But what is that as far as timing is concerned with the new UGMO systems and all that? How does that work with timing and the use of it? There's so many people concerned about water usage and drought conditions. What are your comments on that?
Yeah, well, I think you hit it on the head. I mean, the watering times and frequencies for grass are just a lot greater than trees and or plant material, particularly once the plant material becomes established. You know, grass, no matter how established it is, in summertime, you're having to water it for, you know, 4, maybe even sometimes 5 days a week, depending on where it is, for pretty lengthy run times. Whereas once plant material is established, we'll use bubblers or other things that maybe not use as much water sometimes, but also you can get away with 1, maybe 2 days, and for maybe half of the run time, and the plant material can live off of that just fine. So it is, you know, when the plant material is fresh, we usually will put a little extra water in on it to get it established. But once it's set, that's when you really start to see the savings. And then in terms of how it affects the UGMO system, we did make some changes or some of these grass removals on a couple of UGMO sites. And what's so great about that system is, you know, as I mentioned to you, I think in the past, we don't have to spend time programming it. It measures the soil content, or the moisture content of the soil, and it establishes the runtime based on that. So what we'll do is we work with the folks over at UGMO to let them know that it went from grass to plant material. They'll change the threshold that the sensor looks for. And then it'll adjust accordingly so that it'll automatically reduce run times when the plant material is established and it's appropriate.
Great. Well, modern technology, right? We're all coming along there. So, Robert.
Yeah, one more question, Dave. On the grass removal, you look like, you know, that's excellent that you got 45,000 square feet of plant life now. That's great. Is that phase 1 or are we done?
Definitely continuing on. That I would call that phase 1. It's happened over the last several months, mostly because our staff had enough on their plate and I didn't want to overwhelm them with too many projects at once. So we're kind of working through them alongside some of our other day-to-day work that we're doing. But these first 6 sites were definitely identified as phase 1. And then we'll start working our way forward once we get wrapped up on the last couple there.
Oh, that's great. That's wonderful. We've been excited to see that for a long time. So thanks for the surprise tonight. That's great.
You're very welcome.
So we all take for granted, you know, maintenance services until it starts to look bad. And we have never, ever. So, you know, the thing is we look at it from a standpoint of it looks fantastic all the time. You all do an excellent job with a skeleton crew. And we've never had people complain about anything that has to do with town. Excellent job to you and your crew. Thank you for making Danville that wonderful place to live. We so appreciate it, Dave. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you all for your support. We obviously couldn't do it without you all. So thank you very much.
We so appreciate it. Thank you for being here this evening.
Thanks for having me.
Next on our agenda is our legislative update. And we are joined this evening by the Assistant to the Town Manager, Diane Friedman. And we got you on mute. I'm going to make t-shirts that say that you're on mute or signs.
I am an overmuter for sure. Good evening, Town Council. I am very pleased to be presenting this legislative update to you this evening. I'm going to start first with where we are in the legislative session. The California legislative session is dependent upon its deadlines. And this Friday, May 21st, is the last day for appropriations committees to move fiscal bills. The Appropriations Committees hear all bills determined by the Legislative Council to have a fiscal impact on the state. The Appropriations Committee meetings are a significant milestone in monitoring bills as they move through the legislative process, and the last chance for a fiscal bill to move out of the House of Origin. And by House of Origin, simply the house that the bills were initially introduced in. All bills will change houses on June 2nd, and that means if the bill started in the Senate, it moves over to the Assembly, and the Assembly bills move over to the Senate. And this marks the halfway point of the legislative session. We continue to monitor state housing legislation, including the bills within the Senate Pro Tem's Tony Atkins Building Opportunities for All housing package. As a housing package, these bills are designed for housing productivity, to supersede local zoning ordinances, create housing density, streamline developments, and create density infill in single-family zoning. This week, we are particularly focused on 3 of those bills. SB 6, known as the Neighborhood Home Act, authorizes residential development on existing lots that are currently zoned for commercial office and retail space, such as strip malls or large big box retail spaces. We oppose this bill. Senate Bill 9, which is referred to as the California Housing Opportunity and More Efficiency Act, or HOME Act, it promotes small-scale neighborhood residential development by streamlining the process for a homeowner to create 2 same-size units or subdivide an existing lot in residential areas. SB 9 language at a minimum allows for 4 full-size houses where 1 sits now. SB 9 eliminates single-family zoning in California. We also oppose this bill. The third bill we are monitoring in this package is Senate Bill 10, which would authorize a local government to pass an ordinance to zone any parcel for up to 10 units of residential density per parcel, if the parcel is located within a transit-rich, jobs-rich, or an urban infill site. These projects are CEQA exempt. We also oppose this bill. Moving on, another bill that we are closely monitoring this week is Assemblymember Rebecca Bauer-Cahan's bill that would require the Office of Emergency Services to take actions to implement a hotline system, designating a 988 crisis hotline center to provide crisis intervention services and crisis care coordination to individuals who are accessing the 988 hotline. All of the bills that I just mentioned are on a suspense file in appropriations. The suspense file process has been part of the committee rules since the mid-1980s. And this really basically is a pause button. If something is put on a suspense file, it is so that the Committee on Appropriations can study it a little bit more closely to determine the fiscal impact on the state. They're placed on the suspense file if bills meet a certain dollar threshold. The bills are considered at one hearing after the state budget has been prepared and the committee has a better sense of available revenue. And that the state budget, the updated budget by Governor Newsom, was presented on Friday. So now they have a good sense of where they stand. With the revised budget proposal by Governor Newsom, which was released on Friday, the state is sitting on a $101 billion windfall. So there is a very good chance that these bills will move forward. If they don't move forward, they will become 2-year bills. So we will have a good feeling of where things are going at the end of the week. Moving on to the Legislative Committee, consisting of Mayor Morgan, Councilmember Stepper, Town Manager Joe Calabrigo, and myself, who's the staff liaison for legislation. We met on April 27th. We discussed updates to the housing bills, public safety and mental health bills, and took action on 2 bills. AB 843, which has to do with California Renewable Portfolio Standards. It's a request from MCE, which is our CCA, to have access to a biomat program that they don't have access to now, that is a state program that supports the development of renewable bioenergy electric projects. We support that. SB 619, this is the organic waste reduction regulation. It would require Cal Recycle to only impose a penalty on a local jurisdiction if they are not making a reasonable effort to meet and comply with the organic landfill reduction goals under SB 1383. And we support that bill. Moving on, in addition to that, we also took action on SB 612. This was not within the legislative committee. This was just recently at the request of MCE. This bill would increase transparency on how investor-owned utilities renegotiate legacy contracts, resulting in a power charge indifferent adjustment. When a customer moves from an investor-owned utility such as PG&E to a community choice aggregate like MCE. We also support this bill. The details, if we take an action and the mayor approves an action that is in between the legislative committee, what we will do is we will include the bill in the next legislative committee packet. So SB 612 will be included in the next legislative committee packet. Moving on to the Tri-Valley Cities Coalition, which includes the city of Livermore, Pleasanton, Dublin, San Ramon, and the town of Danville, who have joined together to work on issues and advocate on behalf of the region at the state and federal level. On May 3rd, the TVC Coalition met to discuss the status on current bills and made recommendations to the mayors that the coalition take action on 2 bills. This was something that was discussed earlier in the study session. This is Senator Glazer's bill 792, and this has to do with tax reform for online sales. This really, if a retailer exceeds $1 million in sales, they have to report to the California Department of Taxation and Fee Administration the city or zip code where the purchaser resides for each sale within the state that is transacted online. It's a first step in online sales tax reform, which will really highlight a major and growing problem in California for local finance. This bill is also in the suspense file in appropriations. It was actually amended today at the request of the California Department of Taxation and Fee Administration. Instead of the zip code, they requested the city or county to be included as part of the bill. And we support that bill. The next bill we took action on was AB 602, which we opposed. It establishes new changes and standards for impact fee nexus studies and requires the Department of HCD to develop a nexus study template. This bill again is on the suspense file. During the meeting, the TVC also discussed the status of earmark submittals. Congressman Swalwell submitted $25 million under the community project request and the House Committee on Transportation for the 42-mile rail project that connects Dublin, Pleasanton, BART Station in Alameda County to the San Joaquin County and downtown Tracy, also known as Valley Link. Out of the 10 projects that Congressman DeSaulnier submitted under community projects, 2 of Danville requests have been chosen. $1 million request for the townwide traffic signal modernization program, and $350,000 for the Iron Horse Trail pedestrian safety improvement projects. We have also submitted earmarks to Senator Feinstein and are in the process of submitting these earmarks to Senator Padilla. The next step for the TVC is to work on dates for meetings between the mayors and federal elected officials in Washington, D.C. They will be virtual, but next step is federal. As far as the state update, the governor, as I mentioned earlier, released the revised budget. It's a $75.7 billion surplus at the state level, combined with $25 billion in federal relief from the American Rescue Plan. The historic state budget surplus is driven by robust personal income and corporate and capital gains tax revenues and state sales tax revenues remain strong. Of noting, under housing, the state has set aside $1.75 billion for the Department of HCD to help support affordable housing projects. $500 million for HCD to provide planning and implementation grants to regional entities for infill development projects. $45 million to continue to streamline the development of housing on available excess state land sites, and another $500 million for the REAP, which is the Regional Early Action Planning Programs that are administered through ABAG, and $7 billion for Project Home Key over 2 years to further expand the portfolio of housing. We will be providing a more in-depth information in the budget in the next legislative packet. On the federal level, the U.S. Department of Treasury, as noted today in the study session, released their guidance for entitlement cities for the American Rescue Plan. This week, we are expecting non-entitlement cities to have the guidance released. And there is a timeline. The state is on the clock for 30 days. We should be getting the first tranche of what our money is going to be allotted within 30 days. So we will absolutely be watching that. Per council's direction, we continue to be actively engaged in legislative advocacy efforts that are aimed at protecting and promoting Danville's best interests. And with that, this concludes my legislative update, and I will hand it back to you, Mayor Morgan, for council questions.
Thank you so much. Any questions or comments? Newell?
Diane, again, thank you for your advocacy, and you really dive into these things. These are complicated when we see a legislature that in our lifetime has produced so many bills that even 2 years we can't keep track of. Nearly 5,000 bills that they pass. No human being can do that, much less try to keep track what specifically affects Danville. On Rebecca Bauer-Cahan's bill for the 988, you know, we have supported that. That's something we've been advocating for years. Our city manager, Joe Calabrigo, is advocating for that through the City Managers Association here in Contra Costa County, along with the Mayor's Conference. But we have an opportunity to actually maybe write another letter, which is from a different perspective. Given the 100 million or 40 million, whatever they keep, the number changes every day, which doesn't make sense, but of the excess funds that the state has, they're one-time monies that we should ask that they set aside $2 billion out of that. That's 2%. Set aside, if we really believe in trying to make a difference in policing, we really believe making a difference in the outcomes of contacts, of getting the right team to the right response, to the right solution, you know, whether it be fire that you send out, whether you send a police officer out, or you send a mental health response team with backup from those. There are 58 counties. If you take $2 billion, that's about $34 million set aside for each county. But if you then transfer it and do it based on population, Contra Costa County would get $60 million out of that. That creates 333 positions. And you can say that's over a year or over a 10-year. Over 10 years, that's 33 full-time positions to address this as those rapid response mental health teams. That's the legacy funding we have. We know that the state's going to be in dire straits the next year or the next year. Put that money away, restrict it. We ought to think about this as an opportunity to create those legacy fundings. It's no different than the libraries. We create endowments, create an endowment so that this lives. We all talk about let's get it funded. Well, now's the time to fund it and put the money aside in a legacy account. So this isn't just some willy-nilly idea that comes and goes, well, we don't have any money next year. And as we've seen in the past, these great ideas come up, and mental health has just been crushed in California. Oh, well, we don't have the money. We do have the money now. And let's make a pivot here and advocate that they put away at least $2 billion, lock the money up. It's not touchable except for that program.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Arnerich. I've made a note of that, and we are certainly hoping that AB 988 will be passing through appropriations this week.
Robert, you're on mute.
I didn't say anything yet.
Sorry.
Diane, thank you. Thank you for stepping up and taking on this very difficult job. It's hard for someone to come in and understand all the inner workings of Sacramento, and you've done a really good job representing the town of Danville. You've taken the time to become a student of the game. I certainly appreciate your reasonable, rational voice in this, and literally protecting the town of Danville, you know, from these bills that are coming out. If you recall, when we were looking at the CASA compact, and then we looked at it and said, oh my gosh, we have 220 bills that could affect the town of Danville out of the 2,200 that are in session or on the table. So you've taken the time to really do your homework, and from the council's perspective, we couldn't thank you enough, because you're the front line addressing these issues and making the recommendations. And I appreciate, you know, Karen and Renee and Joe being all part of this as well. So thank you for doing a great job at this.
Thank you, Councilmember Storr.
Any other comments or questions from council? Well, Diane, once again, Karen, you've got your hand up, I think, or
just a comment, because, you know, I don't know where all Newell's numbers and figures and support from the other cities are, but something that we can look at our next agenda with respect to his comment, and understand how it relates to police funding and other things that are on this budget that just came out this week.
Thank you, Councilmember Stepper.
okay. And all right, well, you know, Diane, as you, echoing what the other council members have said as well, thank you for all your efforts and keeping us abreast on the newest and greatest and latest issues that are coming down the pike at us. We appreciate it. So thank you for the thorough report, and thank you for keeping those letters going in our support, or if we do not support them, we so appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, May Morgan.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and go on to item number 7, which is our town council reports. And item 7.1 is our San Ramon Valley Unified School District liaison report. And it states that it's Mayor Morgan, but it's also our vice mayor, Newell Arnerich, is also on that, as well as Joe Calabrigo and other members of staff. We meet with them on a quarterly basis right now. And obviously there's been a lot going on with the school district. So it's an interesting time right now, but you know, they've been able to get the kids back to school. And one of the things that I'd like to say is, you know, we have a great partnership working with them when it comes to recreational programs. And we spoke with Henry Perez-Alonso this morning about our recreational program, and they do a great job working together. The Monte Vista pool will be in a complete reconstruction. They're planning on making it more of a viable pool for meets and things like that. So that'll be starting in the summertime going into fall. They've done a lot of refurbishing of those type of pools, but this time I think they felt the money was more well spent to basically have it to be a more viable pool for competitions and swim meets and all that. The other thing was that they were able to pivot on a dime, and the schools were able, if you haven't noticed yet, but the senior balls took place this weekend. A lot of children there going, and they plan on having graduations that the children were given the option to either graduate at one time or another, and they're planning on splitting it in half that way. And the children will actually have a live in-person graduation ceremony with a grad night. And I couldn't thank the parents enough, because between that and the schools, they did a great job coming back out of a situation and making the best out of what they could, and giving these kids that have not had a senior year in school the opportunity to at least experience some of the senior feelings and the senior parts of being, you know, in school. And I know that Newell, you had some other things that you might want to add as well.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Morgan. That was a great summary. I just add 2 things. One, I just want to publicly thank our school board members, Dr. Malloy, and all of his senior staff, that I know if I were sitting in their seat, I would have come to the same conclusions and the same decisions. There are school districts in this state, some very close to us, that still are not open. There's a lot of people in the community wanted to see things open, a small, very loud group of people who said, oh, we wanted to open sooner. But in fact, that would have been incredibly dangerous. But most importantly, our school district was poised. They applied first to get all the waivers that they need, and they were ready and sprung to action at the first safe opportunity to open. And as the mayor's just described, all the things that have come out of that. Lastly, I would just like to say congratulations to Mayor Morgan. Her youngest son finally is graduating. He spent 2 years, his junior year, senior year, under COVID, and he gets to walk across the stage to 2 proud parents. So congratulations to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Actually, his cap and gown is hanging in the family room for all to see as they walk in the house, because we didn't think we'd even have a cap and gown ceremony. So appreciate that. Thank you, Noel. Appreciate it. I'd also like to go on to item number 7.3, which gives the opportunity for town council to give any updates that they feel are necessary to the council. Robert, you know what? Let me back up.
I just like to do my report.
I completely forgot you. Newell made me feel so proud that I just completely wanted to end the meeting on that note. But anyway, so let's go back and let Councilmember Storr at least talk about County Connection just for a minute or so.
Yeah, we're excited about this. As you know, we all went through difficult times through COVID. We're just starting to come out of this. We believe that we'll be fully operational in the fall when all the kids go back to school 100% of the time. We were, because of reduction in services, we have a $38 million budget. We were able to save, if you want to call it a savings, $5.6 million that we were able to place in our reserves account now because of the reduction in service entirely during COVID. Our unfunded liabilities, we're kind of happy about this. We're just under 90% funded on our unfunded liabilities, which is a big deal. And because we were able to save $5.6 million, we're looking at ways of maybe trying to buy down that unfunded liability. We take unfunded liabilities very seriously at County Connection. We are at one point, we had 82% to 90%, depending on where you were in one of the 9 cities, in reduction in service. Today, our weekend service is down between 40 and 50%, and our weekday service is down 60%. So people are coming back and riding the bus. As far as masks are concerned, we fall under the TSA. They take care of air travel, rail, and plus transportation. So we see that we're going to probably have masks on for at least the foreseeable future. Hydrogen fuel, we are looking at, my prediction is in the next 3 to 5 years, we'll have hydrogen fuel buses on the road. We're partnering with LAFTA, which is the Livermore-Amador Valley Transit Authority, and they run the buses there. We run the buses in the other 9 cities. We're partnering with them to have a fuel cell bus, cross-jurisdictional line, so we can share the cost. And just to show you how important partnerships are in the world we live in, LAFTA and County Connection are partnering with paratransit. And because we have one contract with Transdev, we are able to save the overhead cost because we both share the contract, which is a big deal. As far as going back to the hydrogen fuel cell, as an interesting piece, Ellen Tauscher got an earmark back in the day and was able to help LAFTA purchase a piece of property between Pleasanton and Livermore, which may be a hydrogen fuel cell site. And actually, LAFTA, Tim Hale at CCTA, and County Connection are working on Innovate 680. So we are, still gaining money, just like we all did with jurisdictional money. We have $12 million in the CARE Act. We got $4 million from CRISA, and we were looking at ARP, which is American Rescue Plan. Somewhere between $10 and $15 million is what we're looking at in this next fiscal year. So we are coming out of this probably a little bit stronger, a little bit smarter, and like a lot of jurisdictions, we're learning from COVID. And when we come out of this, we'll be a lot smarter. And we've turned over every single rock to save money. And and when you come out of this type of economy, you really are a lot smarter about how you spend money. So thank you for letting me share that, and thank you for letting me be part of County Connection.
You do a great job. It's always very interesting to hear your reports. Karen.
Just a quick question, Robert. So that was a great report. Yes, it was, because the fact that you're directing some of this toward buy down of liability that we don't deal with here, but we do in all of our regional committees is auspicious. Appreciate that. Wanted to just look at the hydrogen buses. Michael Tree is, they have the top bus transit system anyway in the area, because I work with him on Valley Link. So I don't have any doubt that where you're going has been researched, but I do remember when the hydrogen buses came out and they were too heavy for the roads. And there was a big hullabaloo. And is that all behind us? Is that taken care of?
It is very similar to the electric buses. The different generations come out, they're lighter, they're cheaper. We were buying electric buses for $960,000 each. First generation of battery. Now we're buying them for about $640,000 with third and fourth generation battery, much lighter. That technology in theory is going to move over to the hydrogen fuel cell buses. And, I think there'll be a pilot plan somewhere between Livermore and the county connection area, probably going through Dublin, San Ramon, and through Walnut Creek and into the Amtrak station. So that's going to probably be the route. And we're going to see where this goes. We're certainly supportive, but to answer your question, we have had conversation on that. So, we've learned a lot from the electric buses.
Great. Thank you, Robert.
Any other questions or comments for Robert? Okay, seeing none, let's go ahead and go to town council updates. Are there any other town council updates? I just wanted to say to everybody that on Sunday, May 23rd, is the military swearing in ceremony on the town green. And today we had a wonderful, is that correct, Newell? You had a look like.
I just want to note that that is not a public event, it is by invitation only because it is limited to 100 people.
Right.
So we want to be very cautious. We want to recognize our 15 young high school students who are graduating and will be going into military service and various academies, but it is not open to the public. Sorry, that's a disclaimer.
No, I was going to add that as well and say that, but it will be recorded and be able to be viewed. So therefore, if you'd like to see our 15 new recruits that'll be going into the military and serving our great country, it'll be available on a YouTube video platform for everybody to see. Another thing that we did today as well is we did the ribbon cutting for the bridge that goes across the San Ramon Creek that goes from the Diablo Road all the way into our town green near our library and community center. So for anybody that's wanting to go across that bridge and look how beautiful the scenery is below and the wildlife and all that, please do take a moment to go across that bridge and check that out. And on that note, I'd like to go ahead and say have a happy and safe Memorial Day, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for being here this evening. Bye-bye.
Good night.